And now, your 5 o'clock news on Channel 14.
Welcome into WCTV's Newscast, live at 5. I'm Joe Cirillo.
And I'm Anthony DeFilippo.
On Tuesday, Waynesburg University held their ethnic food fair with cuisines traditionally from Mexico and Italy, among other countries. Meg Berry was there and has the story.
For the first time in 5 years, the Ethnic Food Fair has returned here to Waynesburg University.
The fair is an opportunity to bring faculty and students together to indulge in traditional foods from different ethnicities.
So the Ethnic Food Fair I've been doing since I started here in 1995, and then the last time I did it was in February of 2020 when the pandemic hit. And so I thought it was time to try to bring it back, and I hope today students and faculty and staff see that we are aware of other ethnicities, and hopefully we'll have more people participate next year in making foods.
Many different ethnicities were represented through their food, including Chinese, Italian, Polish, Greek, Mexican, and Korean foods. Despite how delicious the food may be, the higher purpose of the fair is to educate those about other traditions in different ethnicities.
I think how everyone talks about how we learn a language where we immerse ourselves in the culture, I think this unites people by immersing them in our culture and sharing that with them.
The food, the music, and the fellowship was spread through all Waynesburg students and staff. But let's be honest, the food was the center of attention.
I'll take one of everything, please. Meg Berry reporting for WCTV News.
Yesterday, Waynesburg University held a faculty music recital in the Goodwin Performing Arts Center. The concert ran from 7:30 to 9 last night and featured faculty members of Waynesburg University's music department. Instruments that were played included the violin, cello, piano, xylophone, and snare drum. It was the first concert of its kind since 2018 here at Waynesburg, and the new plan is to have the concert once every 2 years at least.
ABC's most recent 2020 story featured a recent Waynesburg University graduate. WOAY News Director Micah Leith was featured on the documentary, talking about his experience covering a unique story. The documentary, titled Little Town Big Con, can be streamed on Hulu now. Next week, WCTV will talk to Micah Leith about his experience with the case and the documentary.
Earlier this week, Governor Josh Shapiro hosted another roundtable about his proposed budget for 2025-26. The conversation once again centered around childcare and how to make it more affordable and accessible for Pennsylvanians. At the event, Shapiro said, quote, "My budget prioritizes workforce development to tackle shortages in critical sectors like childcare. With 3,000 unfilled childcare jobs across Pennsylvania, too many families are struggling to find safe, affordable care, forcing parents out of the workforce and making it harder to get ahead. That's why I'm proposing a $55 million investment to provide child care workers with at least $1,000 in recruitment and retention bonuses, strengthening our workforce and helping to solve this problem," end quote.
Coming up, more on the increase of plane crashes and an update on the health of the Pope.
Plus, the IRS firing thousands of workers ahead of tax season, and a Republican senator announces he will not run for re-election. All that and more on the newscast, live at 5.
Welcome back to the newscast, live at 5. Illinois Democratic Senator Dick Durbin says President Donald Trump is putting Americans in danger after, quote, firing hundreds of employees at FAA. This message posted on X as the Trump administration is attempting to slash federal spending by removing workers from a wide range of government departments. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says these FAA firings amount to less than 400 workers of a total workforce of 45,000. But the timing is increasing concern for some as multiple aviation incidents have occurred this year. Mary Bell Gonzalez reports.
2 people are dead after 2 small aircrafts collided mid-air over Marana, Arizona.
It's still being actively investigated.
Wednesday's crash is the latest in a string of aviation incidents, beginning with the January 29th collision of a passenger jet and Army helicopter in Arlington, Virginia, killing 67 people. Since then, 4 others have reignited attention to air safety. A medevac plane crash in Philadelphia that killed 7 people, a plane crash in Alaska killing 10, a private plane that ran off the runway in Scottsdale killing the pilot, and a Delta Airlines jet crash in Toronto, the plane ending upside down and on fire.
Come on!
Miraculously, all 80 people on board survived. This as the Trump administration slashes the federal workforce, including firing several hundred Federal Aviation Administration employees. In a memo shared with CNN, the acting FAA administrator insisted passenger planes are safe, saying, quote, the agency has retained employees who perform safety-critical functions. But one fired FAA employee disagrees.
I do think the American public does need to be concerned about not only my firing, but also the firing of so many public safety, national security professionals at the FAA.
Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal wrote a letter to the Transportation Secretary asking the FAA firings to be reversed. Duffy said in a post on X, quote, 0 air traffic controllers and critical safety personnel were let go. I'm Mary Bell Gonzalez reporting.
The Vatican says Pope Francis is showing slight improvement just days after he was diagnosed with pneumonia in both lungs. Earlier, the Vatican said the 88-year-old pontiff had spent another peaceful night in the hospital in Rome, where he was admitted last week. CNN's Barbie Latzenado is in Rome with more details on his condition.
He's 88 years old, he's got mobility problems, and he's got pneumonia in both lungs, one of which is compromised. He had half of one of his lungs removed when he was a young man. But there is optimism, this incremental good news. We understand this morning he was able to get out of the hospital bed, sit in a chair, and have breakfast there. Yesterday we understood he only got out of the bed and sat in the chair, so these are improvements. We also understand from the Vatican press office that he's meeting with his close collaborators. He's making decisions on behalf of the church. He's reading correspondence. He's answering. He's in charge, basically, is what they're trying to say. Yesterday he had his first outside visitor. That was the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, who spent 20 minutes there. After her reflection was basically that he was reactive and that he still had his sense of humor. So these are all good signs. But a lot of the information, of course, we get from the Vatican press office is highly curated. They keep their cards close to their chest, let's say, on these things. So we don't really know necessarily how long he's going to be here. Next week, of course, is the beginning of Lent with Ash Wednesday. That's a hugely important time for any pope, especially this one, and during a Holy Jubilee year, which started at the end of last year. So everybody's hoping he gets back on his feet, hoping that he makes a recovery. But it is, with any 88-year-old elderly person with compromised health, it is just real, wait and hope, and as most of the world is doing right now, praying for the pontiff.
President Donald Trump has plans for more tariffs. He floated imposing a 25% tariff on vehicles imported in the U.S. starting in early April. Our Washington correspondent Julia Benbrook has details on how that decision could impact prices.
President Donald Trump's latest move on tariffs focuses in on auto imports as well as semiconductors and pharmaceuticals shipped to the U.S. He has long criticized what he deems unfair treatment of U.S. exports, and this announcement underscores his push for a more balanced trade with foreign markets.
I think momentous decisions are being made by companies all around the world, the biggest, and they want to come back into the U.S. Car plants are being canceled in other locations now because they want to build them here.
While speaking at Mar-a-Lago this week, Trump said he would provide more details on April 2nd, but that the auto tariff rate will be, quote, in the neighborhood of 25%. The steep new tariffs could have far-reaching effects extending beyond the specific industries where taxes are levied. Economists and industry experts have warned that this move could hurt consumers with higher prices and businesses with increased costs. Trump's comments come just days after he ordered an investigation into other nations' tax and tariff policies, paving the way for reciprocal tariffs to take effect. And follow several other tariff announcements. He enacted a 10% tariff on all goods coming from China, as well as a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Van Brook.
NVIDIA has launched the free platform called Signs. It features a 3D avatar to demonstrate signs. Users keep their video cameras on while interacting with the platform, and an AI tool provides feedback as users practice. The platform features 100 distinct signs, but NVIDIA hopes to grow that to 1,000 by allowing ASL speakers to contribute videos of signs not yet available. The ASL learning platform is in partnership with the American Society for Deaf Children and creative agency Hello Monday. The group say American Sign Language is the third most prevalent language in the United States, behind English and Spanish.
The Interval Revenue Service is expected to fire about 6,000 workers on Thursday. That's according to a source familiar with the agency's plans. The source said the government workers who will lose their jobs were more recently hired by the Biden administration and are still on probationary status. The IRS workers who will be let go are described as larger auditors and support workers involved in compliance work. The firings come less than 2 months before the April 15th deadline for Americans to file their taxes with the IRS.
Republican Senator Mitch McConnell announced earlier today that he will not be seeking an 8th term in the United States Senate. McConnell had been elected 7 times to represent the state of Kentucky in the U.S. Senate. There have been calls from both Republicans and Democrats for McConnell to step down the past few years over increasing health concerns, highlighted by multiple phrases when talking to reporters. In a statement to the Senate, McConnell said, quote, "7 times my fellow Kentuckians have sent me to the Senate, and every day in between I have been humbled by the trust they've placed me in to do their business. Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. I will not be seeking that honor an 8th time," end quote.
That will do it for national news. Coming up next is Annabelle Bagley with business and entertainment, but we first step outside with Meg Berry for a quick look at the weather.
Welcome to the very cold weather outside we have here in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. We weren't expecting snow, but it did snow overnight, and it's been on and off snowing throughout the day today. But the cold temperatures are here to stay. But stick around, and later I will have a full week weather update for you all.
I'm working here. My bad.
Welcome back to the newscast. I'm Annabelle Bagley with your business and entertainment update. A North Carolina A&T professor posted a TikTok in January for students to make up for a missed day of in-person class. Now she's generated a big following of TikTok users who want to sign up for class. Kara Peters has the story.
Hello everyone and welcome to Introduction to African American Studies for the spring semester. My name is Dr. Leah Barlow.
Class is in session with just one swipe. It started with this video Assistant Professor Dr. Leah Barlow posted on January 20th. It was intended for her in-person African American Studies class of 33 North Carolina A&T students. That same video, now reaching nearly 800,000 likes, 4.4 million views and counting.
I look and I see like, oh, something big is going on. Still wasn't registering what exactly was happening.
Soon, users across TikTok wanted to learn more about the class, asking how to enroll and when is homework due.
Hopefully you got the list of what the readings will look like, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's see what happens.
This eventually piquing the interest of other professors and teachers across the country to hop on the trend, which is now known as Hillman Talk, a movement crafted from Hillman University the fictional HBCU from hit 1980s TV series, A Different World.
For me, as someone who works at a real life Hillman, so to speak, right, at North Carolina A&T, to sort of see HBCUs on the map in very important ways and really at the helm of digital humanities, right? And so it's exciting to see that happen.
From knitting to financial literacy, students from around the country and world can enroll in a class on TikTok, something Dr. Barlow says redefines how we think and learn.
What I really see is that it's even bigger than Hillman Talk. I see access to education. I see the ability for people to get online and maybe take a class that they wouldn't or couldn't take for whatever reasons. And so it's really exciting to see that go in that direction.
And as for the future of Hillman Talk University, it's a good idea to join a class now while you still have time.
I decided that I should write a book about this. And so I think I'm going to continue doing it, at least for the semester, see how it goes.
Seven men have been charged in connection to a series of burglaries targeting professional athletes across the country. An FBI complaint alleges the men belong to a highly organized group. CNN's Polo Sandoval reports.
While Milwaukee Bucks forward Bobby Portis was on the NBA court last November, authorities say a team of burglars was stealing nearly $1.5 million worth of property out of his home. The hit is detailed in a newly unsealed federal criminal complaint. In it, FBI agents share a selfie obtained through a search warrant showing alleged members of a so-called Chilean South American theft group. They smile and show off their loot, including luxury watches and a safe. Notice one wearing a Chiefs top? Investigators suspect some of these men also hit the Kansas City homes of Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and tight end Travis Kelce in October. Prosecutors suspect 7 Chilean nationals of comprising a burglary ring targeting the homes of pro football, basketball, and hockey players. According to court records, they traveled around the country to the homes of pro athletes, using fake IDs to rent cars and hotels.
They conduct due diligence on who the marks are. Then they conduct surveillance to see what patterns of behavior are. They then go further and conduct a little bit more investigation into the building plans to see points of access. Is this an entire Wi-Fi system? How do I get into the house? Does it have a backup generator? They put these things together, they select the mark and the time, and that's how they have a high probability of success.
Paul Violas heads an international security firm serving high-profile and high-earning clients. He's not surprised an alleged criminal ring is targeting celebrity homes, especially athletes with public schedules and habits of showing off their luxury goods.
We need to stop it from within, and the best way to do that is for the individual athlete, the entertainer, the homeowner, to take control of their own homes. Spend more attention on what they are sending out in social media. Don't telegraph your life.
The millions in stolen property are funneled through a fencing network, according to federal investigators who just this month were led to New York City's Diamond District in a separate investigation. They charged 2 men suspected of working with South American theft groups as middlemen to sell merchandise stolen from an NFL star.
Tax season is underway. If you have children, bought an electric vehicle, or made upgrades to your home, you could qualify for some tax credits. In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan explains what you need to know.
As you begin to file your taxes, make sure to include any tax credits you may qualify for. It could mean more money in your pocket when you get your refund from the IRS. And one of the biggest tax credits is for families.
You can get the child tax credit up to $2,000.
Lisa Green Lewis is a tax expert with TurboTax. She says in addition to the child tax credit, if you send your child to daycare or older kids to camp, you can qualify for child and dependent care credits.
A family with 3 kids, that's up to $7,830. And those are valuable because credits are a dollar-for-dollar reduction of your taxes.
If you've made any energy-efficient upgrades to your home, like solar panels or new windows and doors, you could be eligible for tax credits up to $1,200. If you've installed new heat pumps, water heaters, or biomass boilers, you could be eligible for up to $2,000 in tax credits. If you purchased a new electric vehicle, you could qualify for a clean energy vehicle tax credit.
New vehicles, you can get up to a $7,500 credit
And for used vehicles, it can be up to $4,000.
If you did purchase an EV, your dealer should send you and the IRS a clean vehicle seller report. That will prove to the IRS you did make that purchase. And remember, your 2024 taxes are due by April 15th. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Cynthia Erivo will host the Tonys this year. The Wicked star has her own Tony in 2016 for her role as Sally in The Color Purple, and she's nominated for an Academy Award for her performance in Wicked. Erivo is an Oscar-winning away from achieving the coveted EGOT status for those who hold an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. Nominations for the Tony Awards will be announced on May 1st. The ceremony will be held at Radio City Music Hall in New York and will be broadcast on and streamed on June 8th. Speaking of Cynthia Erivo, she has another big role now lined up. David Daniel has that and more in today's Hollywood Minute.
Cynthia Erivo is going from Elphaba to Jesus. The Oscar-nominated actress is set to play the title role in a production of Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl this summer. Erivo played Mary Magdalene in an all-female version of the iconic musical in 2020.
I've reason to believe we both will be received gracefully.
So much for retirement. Paul Simon has announced on social media his Quiet Celebration Tour, kicking off April 4th in New Orleans. The music legend, who's lost some of his hearing, had indicated he was retiring 7 years ago after what he called his farewell tour.
We've already registered to be shipped off to Auschwitz.
I never thought they would tell me their story.
Unbroken tells the remarkable story of 7 siblings who hid in Nazi Germany for 2 years after their mother's death at a concentration camp, then made it to the U.S. only to be separated for 40 years. The documentary is in theaters and on VOD Friday. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That will do it for your business and entertainment update. I'm Annabelle Bagley. When we return on the newscast, Ethan Spazarski has your sports.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Welcome back into the newscast. I'm Ethan Spazarski here with your sports update. Kicking it off with men's and women's hoops, both teams traveled to Steubenville, Ohio yesterday to do battle with the Barons. The women's team started off with a hot start in the first quarter with an 18-12 lead. However, the second quarter, it was the Barons going 3 of 5 from outside the arc and having a 1-point lead at the half. In the second half, the Jackets caught fire, and that movement was led by sophomore guard Mia Hankins, who had 21 points, including 5 threes, 4 of which came in that half. The women's team walked away with a 71-58 victory and now secured a winning record for the first time since the 2017-18 season. On the men's side, they started out down 10-2 in the first 5 minutes of the first half, but quickly turned that around with P.J. Suggs and Jalen Davis leading the way, scoring a combined 17 points. Waynesburg led 32-27 at the half with yet another second-half lead. But the narrative that has followed this men's team all year with not holding on to second-half leads carries over for one more game. Sawyer Butler for Franciscan is the reigning PAC Newcomer of the Year, dropped 35 points, a career high for him, and helped the Barons storm back to take a dominating 78-61 win. The women's team sits at 13-11 overall and 8-11 in PAC play, while the men's team is 7-17 overall with a 5-14 conference competition record. The final game of the season for both teams will be this Saturday on Senior Day as the Tomcats travel into town. Women's tip-off is at 1 p.m. and the men's will follow 30 minutes later. The PAC Men's Wrestling Championships were held last Saturday, and in case you haven't heard any of the results, here you go. Senior Aiden Bischoff, after missing most of the year with a torn ACL, found his way back onto the mat and placed third in the 197-pound weight class. Bischoff went 3-1 on the day, with his only loss coming to the eventual champion, Joey King of Hiram. Fellow senior Seth Evans avenged his fourth-place finish last year and found himself in the championship match in the 157-pound weight class, however came up just short, losing 13-6. But the main storyline coming away from the mats is sophomore Jesse Orban, who went 18-0 in duels this season and 39-4 overall and walked away with the 174-pound PAC championship. Another positive note, all Waynesburg wrestlers who competed in the tournament won their first match, as well as head coach Aaron McKinney being named Coach of the Year in the PAC. Bischoff, Evans, and Orban all move on to the NCAA Region 4 Championships at Averett College on February 28th. Now transitioning to professional sports, the Hockey World and Pittsburgh Penguins organization were sad to announce the passing of longtime hockey announcer Mike Lang as he passed away at the age of 76. Lang was a radio play-by-play announcer for the Penguins for 46 years, starting in 1974 and ending in 2021. This included all five Penguins Stanley Cup championships that the Penguins have. Lang was widely regarded as one of the best announcers in Pittsburgh sports history. For myself, Ethan Spazarski, as well as the rest of my peers and colleagues at WCTV, we send our thoughts and prayers to the Lang family right now. Sticking with hockey, the Four Nations Face-Off Championship is tonight, and the United States will do battle with Team Canada. Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby is the captain for Team Canada, and head coach Mike Sullivan is head coach for Team USA. Former Pittsburgh Penguin Jake Getzel also is on Team USA, who was also second on the team in points this tournament and scored 2 goals the last time these two teams faced off. The championship begins tonight at 8 p.m. on ESPN and ABC. Shifting over to the Diamond for the official start of spring training, MLB teams started their spring training today, and the Cubs and Dodgers kicked off the season's first game in Arizona. But in Pirates news, there really isn't any. The team hasn't made any more moves since signing Tommy Pham to a 1-year, $4 million contract, and pitcher and NL Rookie of the Year Paul Skeens being named the 15th player in the MLB of the top 100 players list. There's really not much other to report. Pirates do have their first spring training game, though, on Saturday when they play the Baltimore Orioles at 1 p.m. And just another look at the screen right here, Team USA and Canada tonight, 8 p.m. on ESPN for the Four Nations Face-Off Championship. And the Pittsburgh Pirates will start their season against the Baltimore Orioles, 1 p.m. on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. That wraps up your sports report this week, but coming up next is Meg Berry with your weekly weather update.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Meg Berry here with a quick look at the weather. It's currently in the low 20s with not a single glimpse of the sun here in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. And truthfully, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any warmer conditions, and the clouds are going to be sticking around quite a bit. Tomorrow, you can expect a high of 27 and a low of 15 with cloudy skies, and it's going to get a little warmer heading into the weekend with a high of 36 and a low of 17 on Saturday. And hey, we might even see the sun come out midday Saturday afternoon. And on Sunday, a little bit warmer with a high of 39 and low of 22. But despite the cold, the sun is expected to make quite an appearance on Sunday. Partly cloudy skies for most of the day, but right before the sun sets, it's going to be nothing but sun on Sunday afternoon. And heading into the weekend, you can expect another rise in temperature with a high of 45 and a low of 29 on Monday. However, it is going to remain pretty dreary throughout the day with no sign of the sun. On Tuesday, the temperatures are going to stay warmer with a high of 40 and low of 32, but again, no sun. You can expect the same type of weather heading into Wednesday of next week with a high of 44 and a low of 32. And finally, next Thursday, we have a slight chance of rain throughout the day, but temperatures are going to stay fairly consistent in the low 40s for most of the day. But make sure you pack an umbrella just in case. And just a reminder for you all, in this cloudy season in western Pennsylvania, make sure you take time for yourself. The lack of sunlight can be hard on our mental health. So this is your reminder to surround yourself with those who make you laugh and those that you love, to give you that serotonin boost and to keep that time to yourself, to keep that joy going through these long, cold winter months in western Pennsylvania. I've been Meg Berry, and that's all I have for the weather. And now we're going to send it back to the guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Meg. That will do it all for the newscast, live at 5 for everyone behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Thank you for watching.
Stay tuned on our WCTV YouTube page and social media platforms for more Waynesburg content.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.